full course yellow is deployed. Full course yellow is deployed.
Yes, hello everybody, and welcome to another edition of Full Course Yellow in Pit Lane's weekly get-together, where we just sit around and basically chat motorsport for about, an hour or so, depending on how we feel and how much who's joining me for a chat. Coming up this weekend, of course, or coming up from last weekend, we've got the wrap-up of the race at Imola, the Grand Prix, won by Max Verstappen, won at pretty much at the first corner, I suppose, but the question is, did McLaren stuff it up for Oscar Piastri again, or was it just the fact that Max was well and truly on his game? And does this mean that Red Bull have made a number of updates to their cars? Does it mean now that we're back in Europe that we're going to get some closer and more competitive racing, not just out of Red Bull, but also from Mercedes and possibly Ferrari as well? To talk about that and many other things motorsport, joining me in the program are our friend Peter Johnson and Mark Jones. G'day guys, how are we?
Hello, how are you?
Okay, well, let's start with the with the Grand Prix at Imola. I mean, Oscar Piastri, famous for his start. He didn't get a bad start. He did quite well. George Russell got a really good start. And I think there was a bit of split focus there for Oscar, trying to wonder what George was going to do on the inside of him, and he sort of opened up a bit of a gap or half a gap anyway, and Max jumped in and took it. So what do we think, Pete? What was your interpretation of it?
Well, I think even without the free pit stops that Max had and the slow pit stop that Oscar had, I don't think Oscar would have won it on this occasion. I think Max would have still won it. And while we're even though we're not up to previewing Monaco, I think it's a bit sad that they're mandating 2 pit stops just because people can't overtake. I think my knowledge of cricket and football, to a lesser extent, is finite, but different football grounds and different pitches have different attributes, and I think it's the same with Formula One tracks.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's the thing about Monaco. I mean, it's a unique track, and if they're going to change rules and regulations to try and fake up some dramatic racing. I mean, you don't need to fake anything up to get dramatic race. I mean, even if there's not a lot of passing going on, there's always drama at Monaco. So I mean, yeah, just let the teams play it out under the circumstances. We also don't know what the weather's going to do as well. I mean, that can always be very interesting at Monaco. I mean, like south of France, beautiful one day, perfect the next. But I mean, we have had some wet races there over the years. Don't know what the forecast is for the weekend, but a bit of rain would be nice. But I mean, Mark, what is your impression of the weekend?
Oh, I was just sorry. You got me looking up Monaco's weather now, and lo and behold, rain is predicted for Saturday, not for Sunday or Friday or Thursday, but Saturday. Yeah, there's rain on the predictions.
Well, that might shake up qualifying a bit, so that'd be good.
Well, yeah, fun to be had. But yeah, I enjoyed the race, and wow, Max, what can you say? I mean, that was just bold, intensified. It was. It was a clear statement, that Piastri may have been a bit conservative, but there's Max's, and he's not done with intimidating people either, is he? I mean, that was just pure bravado, and I'm coming through no matter what's going, what your opinion might be. It was vintage Max, and it's.
I think it was
Wow,
interesting,
it's
though.
weird to think of that Max is sufficiently experienced now that we can refer to stuff like that as vintage Max. But no, he was. You're absolutely right, Peter. He was not going to be beaten.
I think the thing with Max, and it's interesting because you've got you've got sort of just recently a bit of a discussion going on Sky F1 talking about whether Max races Oscar differently than he races Lando, and Max has already come out and said that he feels very comfortable with racing against Oscar, and you wonder whether he might have made that move because it was obviously very tight, and he obviously had the confidence to go around there and say, well, I don't think he's not. He's not going to do anything really stupid. He's not going to. I'm confident. I'm confident if I put the car in the right place, that he's going to be good enough and sensible enough to, make sure that he doesn't put us both out of contention. And once he got in front, perhaps Oscar thought, oh yeah, okay, I'll let Max get in front, wait a couple of laps, DRS will kick in, and then I'll just drive around him. But as you were saying, it didn't look like at any stage that Max was, once he was in front, even without the safety car and the benefit that brought him in with the pit stops, he didn't look under any sort of problems, any sort of challenge at all. Just wondering though, I mean, there has been some talk, of course, the British media again, going on and saying that McLaren should have moved Oscar out of the way earlier, and let Lando through and given him a chance to towards the end of the race to go after Max because he was on the better tyres, and they said he was comfortable. They felt he was comfortably faster than Oscar, and that if he'd have been let go a little bit earlier, that he might have had some sort of a chance. I mean, what do you think of that? Should they have, after that second safety car, should they have moved Oscar aside and said, okay, Oscar, you don't have the tyres for it. Give Lando a go now.
Nah, I think it was better to let them race. For a while, the gap was steady, and then it was only sort of then it suddenly changed. So I think let them race. I don't like team orders much anyway.
I, uh, pardon me. Yeah, I think I think I don't think McLaren could have done anything else really because we saw immediately after the restart that it was Leclerc, wasn't it, who was right up on Norris's tail. So he had to spend a lap or two, well, a lap, I suppose, getting away from Leclerc rather than concentrating on Piastri. So there was, I don't think. I think if Piastri had let him let Lando through straight away, that would have left him incredibly vulnerable to Leclerc, and the Ferrari probably would have overtaken Piastri unless that overtake was very much managed. I think they very carefully managed as to which corner to get it done in. I think they did the right thing in waiting for a couple of laps in order to increase the gaps and to lessen the potential vulnerability of losing third place in the course of securing second with the chance of first. But on top of that, though, on the better tyres, Norris wasn't faster than Verstappen. So in the end, the McLarens were going to be second and third. It was just a matter of of which one was going to be second and which one was going to be third. It's fair to say, I suppose, they didn't know that at the time. But Norris in the end was not quicker than Verstappen with the better tyres. So.
Of course, we know that Max is very good at Monaco, and we know Red Bull have traditionally been good on some of those slower circuits. So it'll be interesting. If nothing else, I mean, it's really closed up the title challenge now. It looks like we now have at least three genuine contenders for the title now. If Oscar had have got up and because after taking pole again, you might have thought, well, if Oscar had have got up and just run away with that one as well, you might have thought, well, it's pretty much all over bar the shouting. But obviously now, Max is still well and truly in contention. Lando is not that far behind Oscar, and Oscar's got a real challenge on his plate, and also Mercedes did much better. George was competitive. Antonelli continues to impress, and the Ferraris weren't that far off the pace either. And Aston Martin, the return of Fernando Alonso. Good heavens, no one was expecting that.
In qualifying only, they were the Astons were dull in the race. I'm not sure whether it was strategy or whatever it was, but those two green cars disappeared down the order very quickly.
And you've often said, Brett, that you regard the season starting when they get to Europe.
Yeah.
And I think you might be right.
Yeah, well, that seemed to be the thing. I mean, a lot of the cars had upgrades. There's some more upgrades coming, certainly for after Monaco. I mean, they'll go in with their aero packages for Monaco, the high downforce packages as much as possible, and they'll make their changes there. But from that point on, I think we'll see more changes, more underfloor tweaks and little twists and turns and flips and bobs and weaves, and obviously it's helping Red Bull. That's one of the things that Red Bull did say that the team said is we'd made a few upgrades, and it made the car just that little bit better and that little bit easier to drive. Although it didn't sort of help Yuki Tsunoda all that much. I mean, he's still sort of he just had problems in qualifying and or practice, and had qualified and had problems. Didn't sort of set the world on fire in the race.
But credit to him, he did start from in pit lane in the race and then got up to 10th. So.
Yeah, so he grabbed the point, and I suppose that's all that he can do. Franco Colapinto crashed as well, and unfortunately, I mean, the bit of a buried headline I saw in the outcry about some of the social media stuff that both Jack Dew and now the FIA have become involved, as well as Alpine, basically saying to the more toxic of Franco's social media fans to basically pull their head in a bit. But the one that worried me is the fact that the meme that sort of fired it all up, which was supposedly put out by Mick, which apparently Mick said no, it wasn't me, it was a fake account, and that wasn't me. But also the fact that, and this is the more serious one, is the claim is that there was a shot, and I don't remember it, but they claim that there was a shot at some stage over the weekend after the crash of Mick smiling and sort of having, which Mick is claiming was taken from a completely other race.
I would suggest it was, but the Sky News made out that we just took it. It was just taken there and then after the crash.
Yeah, which is that's a very serious thing to say. I mean, that's why I said, in terms of the hidden headline, that's a sackable offence as far as I'm concerned. I mean, if I'm news director at Sky F1 and I find out that somebody in the production unit, someone from probably be the director or somebody there who knows that footage is there, because it's obviously queued up, because if it went live, it's obviously queued up and marked in EVS. Yeah. So under those circumstances, they've been waiting for that excuse to, it's like, hey, if Franco crashes or something happens or makes a big mistake, we can run that footage of Mick smirking and looking delighted, even though it's not in context. That's the sort of stuff you can sort of get away with it to an extent. I mean, it's why I don't like Drive to Survive. Because they do that shit all the time. But this is not Drive to Survive. This is supposedly a live race, and it's live news, and you don't go manipulating images in order to create a narrative that doesn't exist. And if that's been done, whoever did it deserves to get hauled over the coals very, very seriously.
And there were more clouds in the sky when Colapinto crashed than there were in that shot of Mick, shot of Jack.
So the light levels didn't match, you're saying?
No,
Like the background illumination.
there was just more clouds in the sky than there were.
Yeah, so it looks like they've had that sort of, because what happens, like, when we use EVS on the tune up and on in pit lane over the years. EVS is what records all of and shows you all of your slow motion highlights and all the rest of it. And what you do is you mark a spot, and you can go back and you've got a playlist, and it's basically so it's sitting there in the can waiting to go, and somebody can turn around and just say, drag out that shot of Mick smirking. Bang, there it goes, and that's not what he's smirking about. It could have been somebody's told him a good dirty joke or something. He's had a bit of a giggle, from somewhere, and they've got that and gone, oh, that'll be really good. We'll use that one day.
Should be fairly easy to determine if there was an investigation as to whether that was. So
yeah, well, I don't know whether they'll do it or not. I don't know whether it's well. I'm saying Sky. It's just Formula One Pro, and that makes it even
no
worse.
interest in and there's no interest in Sky. There's nothing in Sky's interests in publishing anything about any kind of investigation. I mean, they might have a producer look at it and say, oh, okay, yeah, whatever. We won't hear anything about it again. And if an editor or whatever did get sacked, we'd never hear about that either.
Probably not. But it should be. Somebody should be, as I said, somebody should be taken aside and saying, okay, that's not to happen again, and there should be an apology at least to Mick. And I mean, I'm no fan of Mick Doohan with our history, but I mean, there should be an apology. Number one to Mick Doohan. And then to the fans as well, by saying, hey, listen, this is what happened. We showed this footage. We took that footage that was totally out of context. It was taken from another occasion, and it obviously inferred something that didn't actually happen. So we're really sorry, and it won't happen again. But anyway,
well, let's get Linton Besser and Media Watch onto it.
Yeah, well, yes, it wouldn't be the first time they've looked at motor racing. Hello to everyone at Speed Cafe. Jared saying, rookies need more than 5 days. But yeah, I think that as well. I think that I really think that they're not getting anywhere near enough testing nowadays. They should be, there should be more opportunities to test, especially for younger drivers. Especially for alternate drivers. I mean, for the reserve drivers and all the rest of it. I know they're trying to save money, but Formula One is, whether anybody likes to admit it or not, Formula One is rolling in money at the moment, and it's the top level of the sport, and I think that there should be some more realistic opportunities to say, okay, we're going to have some more tests. We're going to at least 2 or 3 a year. Because it also gives the media, especially during quieter times, also gives the media something else to talk about. Obviously with the 3 races in a row, well, that's fine. But when you've got sort of a long gap between races, I mean, the media around the world would be absolutely delighted to say, hey, we've got 2 days of testing at Jerez or something like that, with a whole bunch of new drivers, some of the Formula 2 people. Some of the reserve drivers. Let's see how they do. That'd be.
Might that defeat the point of having the break though? Because breaks are as much for downtime for the teams themselves.
Well, they get their big break in the year. I mean, that's their holiday, and they get paid enough money. I mean, in terms of. They get a bit of a break over. They get a bit of a break over the Christmas. They get the summer break in Europe, where they're not allowed to do anything. In theory, they're not allowed to do anything at all. So under those circumstances, say, okay, well, there's your holidays, but for the rest of the year, I'm sure they're working. Most of them are working anyway, and if they've got sort of spare cars. And around there, it's to put like a second unit together, just to put a dedicated test team to send them out to a local track, whether it's at Jerez or Silverstone or wherever it might be. Yeah, and let,
Yeah,
let them let them have a run.
And they
especially
now
got
get a
kind of go,
go,
Pip.
Mark.
Well, I was just thinking of that. We've seen it, most notably Williams last year, that it's not always available. That they don't always even have a spare car at race meetings.
Well, that's just
They're
incompetence on the part of Williams. I mean, there was no excuse for that.
Yeah.
uh, yeah, but the I guess what I'm wondering is like, are they? That's during an era where Formula One has been trying to bring down budgets, where that this have that running creating an entire second test team kind of runs against that concept.
Yeah, but the thing is, I don't know why they're trying to say. Yeah, they've got absolute shitloads of money. I mean, they're
Yeah.
just rolling. I mean, obviously, I mean, Liberty Media are dragging in a lot of it, but the teams are dragging in a lot of it too. I mean, they're selling bigger and bigger like television rights, and they're selling. They're moving into more and more markets for the races. It's not as if it's like, oh, gee, guys, we're really running this. The sport's struggling. We're really running at a loss at the moment, and the teams are just, the teams are in a bad way. The teams are just, like as they're saying at the moment, there's a queue of teams wanting to get into Formula One because right now it's a license to print money. So spend some of it. Get out there and go. Go and have a couple of tests in the quiet time and put a few young kids in there and. Also, you might have some. It might end up with some better racing because if you allow them a bit more testing and allow them a bit more sort of technical freedom, the thing that they can test a few things, in the wind tunnel and all the rest of it, you might find some of these, mid-level and teams towards the back of the field might actually find themselves, a little bit more competitive.
Um, and they now have a mandated winter break. Their winter, they now have a Christmas break
Yeah.
um, mandated. But also, interestingly enough, normally I haven't, but at Imola, the first two practice sessions I found a bit boring. Um, and the only interest in the third practice session was they were setting fastest times on medium tyres, and that was the only interest really of that practice session.
Well, that was a
So I
really
want,
weird thing. The tyres
yeah,
were really strange because I mean, they brought Oscar in quickly, obviously to try and get the undercut on Max, and thought, oh, this is going to be good. But the problem that they had with the medium tyres is they seem to sort of fall off a cliff briefly and then they sort of seem to recover and stabilise and they lasted a hell of a lot longer than a lot of people thought they would last. So, and that's obviously that allowed Max to stay out longer and give him the opportunity to come in. The moment the virtual safety car came out and
Yeah,
Lando stayed out longer, quite a few people stayed out. Oscar was one of the ones to jump early because they obviously thought he'd get the undercut and he'd get the big advantage. But number one, he got caught out by the safety car, and number two, they did
they had
have
a
a bit of
slow.
it. Wasn't Yeah, it wasn't the front right. Seemed to be having a problem, and it was about a 4 second, bit over 4 second pit stop. So that messed things up.
well, he was kind of dropped into the same sort of strategic trap that, or tactical trap, if you like, that enfolded Leclerc. In that when there wasn't really an opportunity to get onto a better set of tyres, because when the safety cars came along, the option was to you couldn't put like the tyres available to them wouldn't have lasted to the end of the race, so you'd be trading, you'd be making an additional pit stop, because your tyres didn't have enough life to get to the end. Or in uh, Piastri's case, there would have been another set of hards to go on for him, and then he's maybe underutilized. And I'm not sure where I'm going now, but I just had it. Yeah, I had the thought in my head that, yeah, the uh, that well, certainly the we heard in the radio they were telling Leclerc, "No, you can't come in. We can't give you tyres to the end if you come in when
Once
the
again,
pit stop
if
opportunity
you've got a
comes along."
if you've got a really boring Grand Prix, you can certainly, if you've got the option to flick over and get the in-car commentary, the in-car communication between the two Ferraris and the and the garage, it's most entertaining. It's the most entertaining stuff out there at the moment because
Oh, we need
always
to rank
is.
the drivers on their radio content.
yeah,
Lewis would be
Leclerc's
always
doing
fairly
is.
well at
highly
the
up
moment.
there.
Lewis and Leclerc, I think, are becoming sort of they're the new Martin and Lewis, the new Abbott and Costello. They're comedy gold.
But
And and
even Carlos
Lam
Sainz and even Carlos
yes,
Sainz and Leclerc were. It always is entertaining with Ferrari. We're going to Plan C. We're going to Plan Z. We've run out of letters in the alphabet. Let's
And now,
start
Cal-
using numbers.
Carlos did sound consternated, for want of a better term, over Alex Albon's pace at one point on the weekend just gone, and we had a bit of sparkling from
you'd have to wonder about Albon. You know, his name coming up for, not higher honour, but I mean for another team somewhere, and perhaps even a Red Bull or someone, because he certainly shows on occasions that he's well and truly up there. He doesn't. He used to make quite a few mistakes. He's not making mistakes like that as much anymore. Seems to be very media friendly. I would be, and also being that with a Thai background, you think that Red Bull would absolutely love him.
Well,
well,
that's what
he
the
left Red Bull though. He used to be the Red Bull guy, but he left. So,
and that's
does that factor into whether he can come back or not?
Well,
and
I
that's
mean,
what they were saying.
everybody's left Red Bull, and so most of them will come back.
And that's what they were saying during the coverage. They were saying that a lot of the drivers that have left Red Bull or got shafted by Red Bull have shone when they've left Red Bull.
Well, funny
Yeah.
you should make mention of that because Daniel Kvyat showed up on the coverage at
Didn't he now?
oh yeah,
Yes, he did.
yeah, and just wearing civilian clothes, not doing much of anything. Yeah, what is he up to? He's in WEC somewhere, isn't he? Or I
He
think
has been, yeah. I think
he has been, but not at the
either
moment.
that
Now
or
that you mention it, yeah.
yeah, either that or ELMS. He's certainly popped up. He's certainly popped up there on occasion. So I think they're just waiting for an opportunity to come back when they're allowed to spend their daddy's money again. But
Oh,
But I
that
don't
is
think
a
it'll
problem.
be. I don't think it'll be at Red Bull because Max has recently married his ex, so I don't think it'll be at Red Bull.
yeah,
Well,
it's
yeah, they're
incestuous.
brand new parents as well, of course.
Yes.
The Verstappens.
Yes.
So yeah,
Yeah, and he seems to be in a good place at the moment. He certainly seemed like, I think it was Kim Ilman, the Australian photographer on his YouTube channel, was sort of saying that Max seems a lot more relaxed at the moment, and certainly seems a lot friendlier on the mic to a lot of journalists and people in general. That seems to be a bit more accessible. So he's obviously
we'll wait for the sleep
life.
deprivation. We'll see what happens when the sleep deprivation gets a bit more serious.
I think he's probably got. There's probably
nanny.
enough nannies and helpers and all the rest of it. I don't think they're going to be
Possibly.
running short of
Of help.
short of anybody. Just the child is crying. Send out nanny number 2.
But I have watched him on a video playing his simulator, and and Penelope, I think that's her name, is there, and she's causing all sorts of mayhem, and he's calm as you like. No, P, don't do that. He's
Yeah, I mean, everybody who knows, mate, like I do know, I know one person used to be associated with who has got to know Max reasonably well as a result of the sim racing stuff over the years, and has said that like away from Formula One and away from his his day job, he's a terrific bloke. That he's just it's just that he's very much that when certainly in the past that when he's on the job, when he's Formula One driver Max Verstappen, he is very, very serious indeed, and he is very focused, and he doesn't want to say the wrong thing, and he's there to do a job, and he's not keen on the media, never has been, never will be, but he does like to get out. He obviously loves the sport because when he's not behind the wheel of a Formula One car, he's behind the wheel of a simulator, and yeah, and then
Or a 296 GT3.
296 GT3, and he's already said that yes, that when all of this is finished, I am going to Le Mans, and he's also come out and said a while ago that there were a number of races, including Bathurst, that he was about the Bathurst 12 hour. That he was very, very interested in doing at some stage because he said there's a lot of good tracks that we don't visit, and I would like to race them.
Well, you remember Fernando Alonso took a couple of years off from the World Championship to explore
Yeah.
life away from F1. And Kimi Raikkonen, of course, did that as well.
Yeah, Nico
Um,
Hulkenberg.
So it's not unusual for the more successful F1 driver to say, "Oh, I'm keen to do this kind of thing," but then you get guys like Daniel, for example, who's I'm done. That's it. Pens down, hands away.
Yeah, that's it. Certainly at the moment, it's he hasn't shown any. Well, he hasn't shown any interest at all. I mean, from someone who spoke to his dad, they just said recently. He said, what's he talking about doing? He said, he's very happy at the moment. He's got a whole bunch of other interests. He's got some media stuff. He's got his winery. He's got his fashion labels and all the rest of it. He's got some music stuff he's into. He's just sort of
doesn't mind a dirt bike.
Yeah, he's just saying, I've done that, and I'm sure he will come back at some stage in some form, doing something, whether it's media or sports cars or something, or historic racing, whatever. I'm sure he will come back, and he'll be behind the wheel at some stage.
I wonder when his dad's Alfetta becomes eligible for Group U.
Yeah, well, I think that's.
I don't mean that.
No. Well, that's. But I mean, Joe did have. I mean, he had the Formula 5000. I said to Joe at Phillip Island when he bought the M10B from Alan Hamilton, the late Alan Hamilton, that he said, I sort of jokingly said, you want to get there if the son's in town, I mean, you might want to throw him behind the wheel at one stage. He said no. He said number one, he's not silly enough to want to drive it. Number two, he said I wouldn't let him. He said this is my toy, but now that would be interesting. GT would suit him, but. Yeah, I mean, with the race in Perth, I mean, all the talk about a big street race in Perth, wouldn't that get the crowds in to have the Perth boy turn up as a wild card for the opening race, for the first Perth 500 or whatever the hell they call it, and with special wild card entry, Daniel Ricciardo in a Red Bull Mustang.
Oh, well, there you go. I mean, it's got the mouth watering already, isn't it? They could call it the Perth Extra Super Double Sprint Challenge Cup 500. There.
Yes.
The
Basil Simplest 500.
Well, yeah, that's perhaps a more likely name to come up if if Canberra doesn't come a calling.
Yeah, there's no one left. Let's face it. I mean, but I think it's going to be
If you
a
knock on the
long
door,
time.
if you knock on the door of the headquarters over there and you're like selling biscuits to raise money for something, you'll likely end up with a shadow portfolio.
But pretty much, pretty much so at the moment. Yes, things are not going well for. But I'm sure Basil is very happy because he's got the free ride through the system, and he's got Kerry Stokes, his good mate Kerry Stokes behind him, sort of helping him through. So he might have. It seems though that he's probably. He might have just put up his hand for the wrong, died on the wrong sword here, because it looks like that, outside of the, a handful of local residents and Basil, there seems to be, overwhelming support for this thing from what I hear from Western Australia, that, people are saying, like, I mean, even the person, the Western Australian Sporting Car Club who run Wanneroo are basically saying, no, we're right behind this. This will be good for us. This will be good for for the spread for the sport in the state, because people are just not Wanneroo's apparently like a long way out. It's hard to get into and hard to get out of. Doesn't have fabulous facilities for spectators. So they're saying, look, this will if this brings if we get 85,000 each day to races in Perth, and as I said before, they will get quite a lot of people from Asia, particularly Malaysia and Indonesia. There will be a lot of people come down for a supercar street race in Perth. I've got no doubt about that.
Same time zone, same
Yeah,
distance.
yeah,
You reckon they missed the old Langley Park Super Special? That was such a Perth must-do event back in the days when Rally Oz was on the West
Well,
Coast.
they're talking about reviving that now as well. That and that would make sense because it was successful when it was in Western Australia, and then they sort of brought it over east, and it wandered around sort of various parts of New South Wales for a while, and didn't have much
Oh, I'm so
much
gutted
impact.
it didn't. It was supposed to come to Queensland for a long time, and
Yeah,
didn't end up. I was looking forward to it.
I think Perth was. Well, that's it. I mean, I know people who went up for it, and they invited me up with them. They said, "Hey, we're going up to the WRC. Do you want to come?" And I went, I just didn't have time because we had the show sort of every week. And I went, no, I'm not, and also my back, and I said, I can't really. It's a long way up, and get up to Coffs, and I'm just not, no, I'll give it a miss. But they went up and they loved it. They said it was a great event up there. But everybody who was involved in Rally Western Australia or Rally Perth, whatever they called it, just loved. Just said it was fabulous. It was very successful, and they were gutted when it disappeared from the calendar. Well, as I said, now they're talking about if not for certainly not for 2026, but for 27 or 28, probably bringing it back again. So start off the year with a supercar round. Finish it off with perhaps with a round of the World Rally Championship. That'd be fantastic.
Fun, yeah. No, it's got its attractiveness to it, doesn't it?
It's about the only thing that get me to go. Perth, Western Australia is the only part of Australia I haven't been to. Obviously it's a long way. It's almost like another country, but I'm not going over for a round of to watch supercars at Wanneroo or something like that. But I mean, for the street race, if I wanted an excuse to go over and say, hey, well, I haven't been to Perth. Here's an excuse to go over for a week. I'll go there. I'll arrive on the Thursday. I'll do my 4 days of racing, and then I'll stay for a couple more days. Have a look at the whatever passes for sort of tourism attractions over there. Wouldn't mind Rottnest Island. I wouldn't mind patting a quaffy or something.
Yeah,
they're cute. And then wander back. That'd be a good thing that'd certainly get me up there. It's like it's like the Darwin round. I mean, I'd love to go up and do the Darwin round at some stage.
I don't know why I haven't been to the Darwin round yet.
Yeah, it's a great track. I mean, we went up and did the live streaming for the drag racing up there. Everybody was very friendly. I didn't see any of of Darwin at all because we literally went from the airport to the racetrack, back to Matt Abel's place, and then back to the racetrack, back to the airport, and out of the joint. So saw nothing of the only thing we saw was one pub. There was a pub just up the road, and we stopped there and grabbed something to drink and something to eat. And I don't know if suddenly it was really weird. Some women came out onto the bar and started taking their clothes off. It was very embarrassing. I don't know what. Apparently that doesn't happen anymore. But that particular pub.
Okay.
But, it certainly horrified us. We were dumbfounded. We were dumbfounded for many hours. Anyway,
I'm just not one. I shouldn't be one to throw stones, but I'm just amazed that you seem to find a pub, Brett.
well, yeah, it's funny that I seem to have Melissa had pointed out on many occasions that there was if there is an obscure bar somewhere in any city and anywhere in the world, anywhere that we turned up to, it was like she just said, how do you keep finding these places? It's it's my superhero power.
And also with supercars at Darwin, it always throws up an unusual result.
Yeah, it usually does. Yeah, and they had the triple threat or whatever they called up there. I mean, you've got the drag racing as well, and it's a fabulous drag strip. It's a terrific venue there. It's in a really nice part of the world,
and they've got a speedway in there too. Although they don't tend to run it in with supercar events there. But
they've also got a motocross track right next door. I mean, you come past the motocross track. And when we were there for the drags, there was a big motocross meeting on there as well. In fact, we said, oh, look, if we get in early and we get a bit of time, we might head up and do some filming of the motocross. And we didn't have time because we were so busy getting ready for the live stream for the top end nationals. But it was a really good track. The people were fantastic. You hear about the Northern hospitality, and I mean, as I said, we stayed with Matt Abel, the top door slammer. Raz did probably half of Australia was at his house, and it was just absolutely fantastic to get up like say, oh, there's breakfast on the day. Walked there, and breakfast was T-bone steaks and got bacon and eggs and all sorts of things. It was great. So thank you once again to Matt Abel.
barramundi in that part of the world.
Yeah, we just had fabulous. Fabulous stuff. But anyway, Paul's pointing out that a round of the World Motocross GP Series is being held.
Well, there you go.
So there you go. So that'll be really popular too. I mean, it's amazing how many people come out because it's not that far out of the city. I mean, it's not super accessible. It's not as if they've got trains and trams running to the joint, but it's not that far away. And certainly for the drags when we were there, they got a pretty good crowd, and it's a good track to go to. You were saying Sydney Motorsport Park, winter and cold and night races would add to NASCAR theme. Yeah, well, I'd love to see more night races. I mean, we had.
But they'd have to do that.
Race.
They'd have to do it earlier in the year or later in the year. You couldn't do Calder Park.
Calder Park. Calder Park is well. It's going to be interesting because coming up this Friday is the next round of the Summit Roll Racing Victorian Championships. I thought they were going to transfer to Sunday afternoons, but it's not. It's actually this Friday night. It'll be bloody cold. It was cold last time, but it didn't stop the crowd turning up. As I keep saying, the crowd they get for this
put a
thing
jacket
is
on.
Ridiculous. I think it's almost like when I actually took a jacket. I actually took a jacket last time. The other day actually, I went to Aldi because they've got their snow gear sale on every year. They have a snow gear sale, and I've looked a couple of times at this and I thought, oh, it might be handy one day to have a really, really warm, waterproof jacket like this. And I picked one up there on the. So I should at least be rugged up when I'm walking back from the. I'm fine in the commentary box because we've got lovely, it's lovely aircon and heating. Reverse cycle air conditioning in the confines of the commentary box, but the long walk back to the car at the end of the night at sort of 11:30 can get pretty chilly at Calder Park. But anyway, it's coming up this Friday. Get out there, and if you're in Melbourne, get out there. If you've got a car that you want to run there or a bike, and as I said, if you've got bikes, great opportunity to get so many runs in. If you get there sort of around gates open at 4:30, if you can get there by about 5, go through scrutineering and be ready to run in the staging lanes when action kicks off at 6, you're going to get lots and lots and lots of track time. So great opportunity. If you've got a circuit racing car too, there's no reason, as far as I know, there's no reason at all why you couldn't take that out there, because it's a no prep or a limited prep track. And they've got some seriously fast cars out there. They had the car that set the fastest time last time in roll racing, a Nissan R32 GTR, was blasting through the speed traps at well over 185 miles per hour.
Wasn't it a Tasmanian car by any chance, was it?
No, it wasn't. But I'm sure there was a bit of that technology in there, and that'll be. I believe that car will be back again. The winner of the first round was from South Australia, a Lamborghini, a pink Huracan, and also there's a very quick Audi TT. There's quite a few quick Commodores, Mazdas, some Barra powered devices running around. So yeah, you'll get plenty of good racing,
awesome.
Plenty of good cars this Friday. There.
Awesome.
Now let's move on quickly because some other things did happen on the weekend. I'll just say that I headed down. You can go if you're on the In Pit Lane YouTube channel. I did wave the camera around at the Formula Ford Championship. The final race. Just a fabulous. It was a fabulous race and fabulous effort by, I think it was James Rowe. I'm going by memory now. Who I got down there and sort of like a bit late, but the first race on Sunday morning was cancelled because he went in hard and crashed and absolutely turned the car into a canoe. And when I wandered past, like I got there at around sort of 11:30, and by the time I'd got my egg and bacon roll, signed in at the media, and then walked back to the car, walked back and saw what was left of the car, and saw them, trying frantically to put it back together, and thinking, that's an effort in futility. Not only by the time I'd got back into the car, driven round and set my 2 cameras up, and gone round to my place at Siberia, the cars had just come out. He was there, and he eventually came back and finished 10th.
I'm just looked up the Natsoft. Yeah, there he is, 9th place, the Favcon Spectrum.
Yeah. Unbelievable, because it was in bits all over the place. You looked at it and went, there's no way they're going to get that back together again. And they did, and he's obviously manhandled it. Because it couldn't have been in great condition. He's obviously manhandled it. Phil I imagine was down. Didn't see Phil, but I mean, how impressive! Had the car totally rebuilt in 4 hours, because it was absolutely destroyed.
I'm having flashbacks now to when Greg Ritter rolled his Mygale into a ball at Queensland Raceway back in the, I think the very first year of Queensland Raceway running. And Ritter destroyed his car comprehensively. And with title almost on the line, they got that car repaired again in that similar sort of time frame to lash that car back together with as much ocky straps and duct tape that they could find, and it was enough points that he was able to keep hold of the championship lead.
And I
But
think that's one of the things that, like a lot of the people who are fans of Formula Ford will say, is that they are repairable. They say, look, I've heard a few young guys who have said, yeah, look, I mean, we'd love to race one of these Formula Fours or whatever, but if we crash it, you can't just you can't glue it back together again. There's not much you can do with it. If the tub is damaged, it's
yeah.
damaged. And yeah, I mean, we can bolt bits onto it, providing it's only those bits. But if we damage the tub, we're in trouble. Whereas if we bend something on a space frame chassis, depending on how badly bent it is, you can unbend it again. So so I don't know how damaged. The actual tub itself looked to be in pretty straight condition, but all the corners. When I looked at it, there were no corners on it. There was no nose on it. They were reconnecting or trying to reconnect the steering. When I walked past, there were another group of people up at the back doing stuff and working on it. Everybody was into it. It was other teams as well. I saw Tabitha Ambrose and some of her people giving a hand as well. So everybody kicked in, and
was it's the Spectrum?
What a job! Yes.
Yeah, so I guess they've got the additional advantage of the factory being just not that far away. It's not like a Magal where you've got to get parts in from a part in from France or whatever. I mean that's
Paul's got a
there we go.
So if you get that check it out on YouTube. You can have a look at that rollover and all that. But as Phil is also saying, check out Pace Images pics. They got pics of the incident and also the rebuild and all the rest
of Roe. Yeah.
But it was the time I was down there. I had all sorts of problems. I had a tripod that seems every time we go out now we break something, and I had a camera that wouldn't stay on or wouldn't stay off one way or the other. Every time I moved it did something strange. It shut down or turned on or changed settings or did something. And a tripod that just would not stay up. It was a two-legged. It wasn't a monopod. It became and it's less than 12 months. So if you're out there and you're looking for a relatively cheap video tripod, and you go onto Amazon, Small Rig do some fabulous stuff, but tripods isn't one of them. It's never worked properly, and it's now not working at all. So unfortunately, in fact, there is the details. It is the Small Rig tripod AD80, and yes, it is now pretty much useless.
It's now just an AD8.
Yeah, so it's not good at all. So unfortunately, I'm certainly not in a position to. The thing is, I got my original Velbon that I bought at Walton's, and so people who are old enough will remember Walton's. I got that when I was 14 years old, and it still comes out, and that's what I locked the spare camera off on. It's so it's over 50, so it's just over 50 years old now. Wow. It's still working fine, and I've got another Velbon, which is once again a cheap brand, which I got second hand, and it would be 30 years old, and it's the other one that they just never ever let you down. And I've paid thousands of dollars for tripods that have fallen over within a year or so. Yeah. So sometimes you don't get what you pay for. Okay, hey, listen, I think that's good. And have we got anything else?
IndyCar?
Yeah. Oh, that's right, of course, the big one, the Indy 500.
Yeah.
And we've got Robert Schwartzman on
yes.
on pole.
My goodness, this relatively unheralded Israeli-Russian driver who's joined the old Prema Power team. You remember they were called when Ryan Briscoe was racing for them in Formula 3000 way back when, but yeah, just Prema Racing now, and he's gone and secured pole position well, I guess you have to say it's an upset pole for a first rookie to take poles. Yeah, first rookie to take poles since 1983, and and that particular rookie was Teo Fabi. So that was I'm not sure that he really counts as a rookie under those circumstances, but I suppose
Yeah,
it's
rookie
the.
driver,
But yeah,
rookie
he's
team. Yeah, fantastic,
yeah,
fantastic. And at the
fresh out
other
of
end of the
WEC and
yeah,
Formula Two, and
and at the back of the
yeah.
field, last year's winner Joseph Newgarden and a young William Power. At the
Yeah.
back because of some technical infringements. And of course, what has come out today, if you go and look at the postings from Marshall Pruitt, somebody pointed out to Mr. Pruitt that if you go and have a look at the winning car from last year, which is in the
Oh.
Indianapolis Motorsport Museum, and you go to the back of the car,
Oh.
just have a look down and just have a look at the attenuator at the. Oh,
Really?
look, it's got it's got a filler. It's got a gap filler there as well. So as Marshall is saying, it could have been put on later. It might not be exactly as it ran in the Indy 500 and won the Indy 500 last year. It might. All we know is
Well,
that now it's basically, if you fronted it up now this weekend, it's
yeah.
illegal.
Oh. Yes, indeed. So they've now got the work ahead of them. I mean, more than just that, and more than just willpower and the Joseph Newgarden starting from 32nd and 33rd on the grid, and they've got to complete the rebuild on Scotty McLaughlin's car that he tossed into the fence and redistributed across the circuit.
Yeah, well,
So
they're gonna run the spare car because there's
yeah.
too much damage to the tub on that one that he turned upside down. And if you have a look at the footage, the in-car footage of the time, you see how scary that is. I mean, just slide along, it's sparks flying everywhere, and going at that speed upside down and not sure when
Oh.
you're going. And very,
IndyCar
very, very
accidents are not
frightening.
small.
No, it always frightens the hell out of me. Paul pointing out the next round of the Pro Motocross Series being held
Ah.
at Traralgon this Sunday. That's not too far away. Yeah, if you're in Melbourne, it's a couple of hours drive, and the weather is looking reasonable. We haven't had any rain for what seems like an eternity now, but there's forecast of a few showers on Saturday, and possibly on Friday. Hopefully, won't get in the road at Calder Park, but there's a few showers around, but there's certainly no rain. Oh yeah, historic Winton is happening as well. Yeah, that's without the bikes this year. We mentioned that as well. Unfortunately, the bikes have been 86th from that meeting. Not through anything the Austin 7 Car Club has done, but through Motorcycling Australia, who have just basically gone there and said that as far as they're concerned, Winton is not suitable for motorcycles anymore, unless they make some fairly major changes there, which I don't think they're going to make for the sake of a few motorcycle races, particularly when you realise that Broadford is not that far down the hill as well, and that's absolutely major. Broadford, if you haven't been to see any racing at Broadford, see the bikes there. Go to Broadford. That's a fabulous track, great track, and once again you can camp there. It's in the middle of nowhere. You wouldn't want to do it now. You'd freeze your tits off. But I think But if you're going on a nice weekend, I reckon you could have a fantastic weekend there. Yeah, as Paul's pointing out, 500-mile race. You've also got, I think, Kyle Larson going to do the double again, doing the Indy 500 and the World 600. So he'll be, and that's miles, remember. As Paul's pointing out, the turn 2 wall, the proximity, that's the issue with Winton for the bikes.
Yeah,
So they'd have to make some. Yeah, they'd have to make some pretty major changes there to make it.
That's a lot of earthworks and new concrete, and yeah.
Yeah, just for a handful of meetings a year would probably not be worth it when you've got Broadford, just down the road. The other thing I was going to point out, going down to Phillip Island, I thought they've made a lot of changes, a lot of safety changes at Phillip Island for the bikes. Lots of catch fencing, annoying catch fencing everywhere, so we can't film where we used to film, or you can't shoot where you used to shoot. But they're all over them. But there's more runoff areas, gravel traps, catch fences, all sorts of things all over the place now. The one thing they haven't done that really annoys me, and people say, oh, why don't they race supercars at Phillip Island? I'll tell you, Phillip Island, for spectators, they have done absolutely zero on that track since they've owned it. I mean, there's, yes, the track, the surface is fabulous, the track itself is fine. They've done some minor works around the paddock area to make that a bit better there. But in terms of stuff for spectators, it is a dump. The place it's no better than Calder Park. Everyone says, oh, Calder Park is terrible. Yes, it is. Phillip Island is no better. It's for spectators. It's hard to get into. It's hard to get out of. If you turn up, because for the weekend for the state round, because they won't open the whole track for insurance reasons. It costs them extra. So you park your car. You can't go around and say, oh, I'll park my car and it's Iberia and I'll look across. No, you can't do that. If you want somewhere, you've got to go through the one little tunnel that will get you through. Or climb over this massive bloody pedestrian bridge, which is damn hard for me when you've got dodgy knees and a bad back. It's bloody hard for me. Pete, you'd have no chance at all. You're basically it's like I'll bring you back a cup of coffee and a pie, Pete. Well, by the time you get back, both of them would be cold.
Lots of milkshake by the time it gets back.
Yeah, you got iced coffee and a cold pie. I mean, that's all you sort of get. There's no. I don't know what there is in. I think I saw somewhere. I know there is a disabled toilet in the paddock area. But around the rest of the track, I couldn't tell you if such a thing exists. But it's just, I don't think it's good enough. I think that if they're going to keep Phillip Island, I mean, they're basically doing the minimum they have to do to keep the Grand Prix and the World Superbikes there. And for the rest of the year, they don't really give a damn in terms of what happens to that track. And it's a shame because it is one of the world's great tracks. And it's just, I don't think it's good enough.
Well, we just had new spectator stands put up at Queensland Raceway just in the last couple of months. They've added some stands to the top of the pit buildings towards Turn 6 from the tower, and looks quite handy. It's quite the stands are elevated because they're on top of the pits, so it's better views again. So they're still finding new ways to make to improve QR. So okay, I'm beating my own drum. I'm very much aware of that, but nonetheless, it's every time I'm there, there's something new going on. And well, of course, we had racing there on the weekend. The Motorsport Australia State Championships were in attendance. We had about 7 categories across the course of the weekend. The XLs were the standout because, well, they're the XLs, and that's kind of what they do. And we had a couple of massive races with the XLs, and they tended to sort themselves into a couple of 4-car duels over. They did a couple of longer races, like a 20-lapper and a 15-lapper, and those longer races were just special with Jackson Faulkner won the round from Jackson Cooper, who you might have seen. Cooper's been doing a bit of 86 racing. Luke Rinaldi, the younger brother of Zane Rinaldi, also in 86s. There it was third for the round, and you had and the 5-time champ Brett Parrish was right in amongst us, and. Absolutely, Paul. That's absolutely
You've
true.
Got to give credit to Tony Quinn. I mean, he got there and he said, and everyone sort of had a bit of a laugh about his obsession with toilets and all the rest of it. But he's doing more than just putting a coat of paint on the place. He's making it a place that people want to go to. It'd be great. I know that people have said, oh, wouldn't it be great if Tony Quinn or Sam Shaheen or somebody bought, Calder or Phillip Island or somewhere like that down here, because really Sandown is even if they don't sell it straight away, at some stage it is going to close down. It's not, as Paul's saying. I mean, outside of the it needs as Paul saying, needs renaming to Queensland Raceway. In fact, the whole state needs renaming. Let's call it Queensland. That's what's happening. The state of origin, New South Wales versus Queensland. He's done so much for New Zealand motorsport. He's doing some great work with at QR. So he's doing a terrific job. He's a straight shooter. He puts his money where his mouth is. He's doing an absolute terrific job. But Phillip Island, you just have to. You can't get transporters in and out. If you get in there with a transporter and your day ends early and you say, you're interstate, say, oh well, that's it, we're out for the weekend, Sunday morning we might as well head off now and leave. You can't get out of the joint. I mean, because you can't get through the tunnel. You've got to cross the track, so you've got to get permission. They've got to open up the gates round the back, and so you can get your bloody get your transporter out. And you've got that one road you can go through. There's no decent way of getting from the inside to the outside apart from going over that one bridge, and it's a huge bridge getting up and down the bloody thing. So I just really annoyed me that I was sitting there thinking it's such a good track. But it's also, in terms of supercars and all this, there is no accommodation down there. It's what accommodation? Well, there is accommodation, but it's always booked out. It's always horrendously expensive. Because I was looking, I thought, perhaps I could go down on the Saturday and then I could get an early start on the Sunday, like I used to do. But there was nothing down there under $175 a night, and there was very little of that left. And some places were charging $700 and $800 for a weekend, and it wasn't a big race meeting or anything. It was just another weekend down at Phillip Island.
It's captive market, It's,
very much so. Anyway, we better head off, guys, because we're now at 1:10. Just quickly, anybody got a tip for the Indy 500 while we're here?
I don't know much about it.
Well, Takuma Sato's on the front row, and it's the seemingly ageless Japanese driver who's won the race twice. He's
He's very much become a specialist, hasn't he? It's
well, he has, yeah.
I mean, you had people like Ed Carpenter and a few of those, but like the locals that you'd go, you can understand.
He's
that.
good at the ovals.
This guy comes from Japan, and he just seems to have settled in.
He's part of the furniture over there now, but he's very, very good at it. He's a front row of the grid again. Pato Award on the outside of the front row. Second row is Dixon, Rosenquist, and Palau. Malachus, Lundgaard, and Ericsson on the third row of the grid, and then you get to Scotty Mack.
There is some talk about Malukas possibly replacing Will Power at some stage. Apparently, like Roger Penske has sort of said, well, we love Will and he's fabulous, but it can't go on for we've got to look at options. And David Malukas is now looking at, apparently his name is being raised by a number of people as a possible replacement for Will Power at some stage to at the end of the year, because apparently his contract is up. But I mean he's still very competitive, and as we've seen from Scott Dixon, he's they can go on for a long time in that game if they've got the talent, and Will certainly got it. But I think it's hard to go past anybody with Alex Palou at the moment. He's just on the, and if they're not considering him for that for a Cadillac drive in Formula One, they're crazy, because Yeah, he's obviously in great form at the moment. He's very very good, and I think that I think he'd be a really strong contender in Formula One. But yeah, so I'll go to Alex Palou. Jared saying like basically a new car for Scotty Mack. Yeah, that's the thing about it. It's a real lottery in many respects. I mean, let's just keep our fingers crossed that it's a safe race. Nobody gets hurt. And we can say we can come back on next week and congratulate the winners and say, hey, good clean race. Perhaps a few incidents here and there, but nobody got nobody. Well, that would be that's interesting. Oh yes, it is in the ticker at the bottom. But yes, we must say rest in peace, John Sidney, one of the great engine builders. If you don't know his by name in terms of like as a driver or anything like that, if you know anything about sort of like from and every sort of motorsport from speedway, circuit racing, drag race, he was very much an engine whisperer. Lovely guy, been around for many years. Very quiet. We tried to get him on the show a few times. And he went, "Oh no, I've got nothing. Yeah, that wouldn't be interested in anything I've got to say." But just really nice guy, and unfortunately had to battle with illness and passed away just the other day. So I have condolences to the family and friends of John Sidney, one of the great engine builders. Lots of the Thunderdome cars, all sorts of things. As I said, drag racing with lots of John Sidney engines. It didn't matter what it was. If it had a V8 in it, and he did. I think he even did stuff. I think he even did stuff for some overseas teams as well at some stage, because of just on the strength of what he was doing on the Thunderdome with Chev engines in particular.
And yeah, of course, I had a supercar team for quite a while as well.
So
With Max Dumsney and
Max Dumsney and lots of his friends from the world of speedway as well. So well, he had his finger in a lot of pies, and he was pretty successful in all of them. So valet John Sidney. Okay, everybody. Hey, listen, we better get out of here. Once again, I've got to be up early in the morning to take Getsy to the hospital again. I was in there all last week and thought we had it fixed, but we don't. So so I've got to be up early in the morning and spend more bloody money. Okay, we'll catch up with you next week. By the way, we're tomorrow night. If you're on the In Pit Lane YouTube channel, you can watch us record the final episode of the Tune Up, our weekly music show. We've got 2 episodes left on Channel 31. Watch our band from last week, Trip to Paris. Fabulous. What do you think of them, Pete?
They were great. They
were very nice. But we've had so many great bands on. So many, and I understand our band tomorrow night. I don't even know the name of them. Luna has picked them out, but apparently they are a glam rock band, and they're lots and lots of fun. So that's tomorrow night. So we'll all get a surprise tomorrow night, because, as I said, I don't know what their name is. Luna's good up. They said, but Luna said, "Hey, trust me, you'll like this." So if Luna said, I'm willing to go with her. With her idea, I think she's got it switched on with that sort of stuff. Okay, so we'll see you next week after Monaco, after Indianapolis, after Charlotte, after everything. Until then, from all of us here on the Full Course Yellow, thanks a lot. We'll catch you later, everybody. Bye for now.
See you.